Good evening. Our top stories tonight, the New York Jets. We know that they are all in on Aaron Rodgers, but they've got some financials to work out first. They are currently $914,000 over the salary cap, which is one of 14 teams to be over the cap, but they're in the best shape of those 14 teams. Only one move, and they'll be back in the good. Two moves, and they'll have about $20 million in cap to spend. So the Jets, they'll be fine, but will they be able to land Aaron Rodgers? And if they don't, what's the backup plan? All that and much, much more on Player Profiler today. Like I said, negative 9,014K. It's so weird when you see these not in millions, because it's very rare that we are dealing in the Ks, the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But nope, Jets only $914,000 over the cap. That is 19th overall, 11th in the AFC. So it's not great, but there are 14 teams over the salary cap, 13 of them in worse shape than the New York Jets. And we already know two moves that they're going to make, and they'll be about just under $25,000 or $25 million, in the green. We heard reports earlier this week that Carl Lawson, the big name edge rusher who tore his Achilles in the first season of Robert Saleh, missed all of 2021 and then returned for 2022, finished second on the team in sacks with 7, behind only Quinnen Williams, the nose tackle who absolutely dominated. But Lawson, he can be cut and save $15.4 million. So that puts them 14 and change above the salary cap. They're in the green just with that move of Carl Davis. And it's going to be a loss, but the Jets did draft his replacement last year. Everyone focuses on, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. Well, they got the awards, but Breece Hall, he was the best rookie of them all. There was actually a draft pick in between Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall that a lot of people seem to forget about. Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher, bendy as hell, explosive as hell, coming off the edge from Florida State, traded back into the first round to draft Jermaine Johnson, landed him, and he's kind of the forgotten man in this Jets rookie class because of how good Sauce Gardner's been, how good Garrett Wilson's been, how good Breece Hall was. But make no mistake, the Jets have an in-house option to replace Carl Lawson if they do decide to cut him. What they don't have is a replacement for Corey Davis. So if they cut Corey Davis, they will save $10.5 million. Cutting Lawson and Davis puts them $25 million above the cap. And if that's the case, what does the starting offense look like? Because the direct replacement to Corey Davis is actually Denzel Mims. But could they kick Garrett Wilson out to the X receiver position and then move Elijah Moore back from the slot to Z and kick Braxton Berrios into the slot? That's a possibility. Or they could keep Denzel Mims outside and have Garrett Wilson as the Z, moving inside, outside, moving all around. And then Berrios and Elijah Moore can split time in the slot, depending on if Elijah Moore is out of the doghouse. In reality, Berrios, Elijah Moore, they should not be splitting time. Elijah Moore is more talented, but we have to remember that coaching is not always rational. But either way, cutting Corey Davis, they don't have a direct replacement unless they finally let Denzel Mims shine. So that's something to watch for Aaron Rodgers. They need just another high-end pass catcher on this offense if they do land Aaron Rodgers, or whoever they do land. They need a wide receiver too, if we're being honest. Get rid of Corey Davis. You got Garrett Wilson still at the top, but Elijah Moore as the 2. We love Elijah Moore here at Player Profiler, but it's a risk. And we love Denzel Mims too, but relying on him as your 3-4, that's a risk. That's all we're saying. And they can also save $5 million by cutting Braxton Berrios. That is a possibility, but if they do cut Corey Davis, feels less likely. They can save $4.9 million by cutting their left tackle, Dwayne Brown, which I don't think they'll do. He's on a 3-year deal, but they could. They don't actually save any money, though, if they move on from Mekhi Becton, their former first-round pick. If they choose to cut Mekhi Becton, all $5+ million of his salary is guaranteed, so doesn't come off the books. If he's traded, they will save $3.2 million by trading Mekhi Becton, but still incur $2.3 million in dead cap. So it's not really worth it. Just ride it out with Mekhi Becton. Do not rely on him, but anything he can offer you this year, that's gravy. Unless, I don't know, maybe they're just completely done with him. But either way, that's not a move that will be made to help the salary cap. They can extend Quinnen Williams. That'll free up almost $7 million. They can extend Jordan Whitehead, who only signed a 2-year contract. He's in the last year of his deal, as well as Quinnen Williams. $4.3 million to extend Jordan Whitehead. And then there's the restructures. CJ Mosley is the most obvious. Save $11 million by restructuring him or asking him to take a pay cut. And then you can get $7 million almost from John Franklin Myers. $5.7 million if you restructure Laken Tomlinson, $5.8 if you restructure Dwayne Brown, and $4.7 million if they restructure DJ Reed. So the Jets, at face value, when you first look at it, they're negative salary cap. That's not great. But then you realize with 2 moves, they have almost $25 million in cap space. And then they've still got the restructures and the extensions, because Quinnen Williams is going to be getting an extension. He's not showing up to the voluntary portions of the offseason routine, if not. So he's going to get paid, rightfully so. It'll free up some cap space for them, and it'll allow them to go all in on Aaron Rodgers with the championship defense around him with enough playmakers. Again, I would like to see a wide receiver 2 added. Without a wide receiver 2, this is still a solid group, but adding that complement to Garrett Wilson just makes it that much better. So that's my hope for the Jets. But if they miss on Aaron Rodgers, what's the option? Could they still make a swing at Lamar Jackson? Because we're hearing that Lamar Jackson, well, he is 200% going to be back with the Baltimore Ravens, according to John Harbaugh. That's not a real number, by the way. Still, I don't see it happening. I think Lamar Jackson, he's going to get franchise tagged. He's going to not show up. And the Ravens are going to ultimately trade him on the exclusive franchise tag. Some other team will work out a long-term deal. My pick is the Atlanta Falcons, but the Jets could be in there. The Jets, if they miss on Aaron Rodgers, they could also be in on Jimmy Garoppolo, in on Derek Carr if he does get cut and isn't traded to the New Orleans Saints, which remains a possibility, but less likely of one. And if they miss out on Rodgers, if they miss out on Lamar Jackson, and they don't land Derek Carr, and Jimmy Garoppolo ends up with the Raiders, which is a possibility, Robert Saleh is in for a rough one because it has been made known. This is why they had trouble finding an offensive coordinator. This is a win-now team. Missing the playoffs is not acceptable. So we'll see who the quarterback is with Nathaniel Hackett designing the offense. We'll see how it functions. Jets fans better hope it's Aaron Rodgers or it's Lamar Jackson. Outside of those two, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr are the next tier. But when it comes to their draft picks and loading up, if they do trade for Rodgers, they'll obviously be giving up that 13th overall pick. But if they don't land him, they'll keep it. They have a 2nd-round pick, 43rd overall, a 3rd, 74th, a 4th rounder, which is just outside the top 100, a 5th, and a 6th. They have all of their original picks except for their 7th rounder, which was given to the Bucs in a trade for Steve McClendon. Jets sent nose tackle Steve McClendon as well as their 7th rounder this year for a 6th last year. But other than that, Jets have all of their original picks, which is crazy considering they traded up for Jermaine Johnson. But Jets are in a good position. They must make the playoffs. This is a win-now team. The owner, Woody Johnson, has decided it. And people might not remember, but Woody Johnson, he stepped away from the Jets for 4 years. He was Donald Trump's ambassador to the UK. And so he stepped away, let his little brother run the team. But then Woody Johnson came back and said, nah, I do not love how you ran this team. I am in charge now. This is my team. And I'm actually going to start meddling again. I can't remember what his brother's name is. Doesn't matter. But the other Johnson that was filling in, Brian maybe. But Woody Johnson's brother, he just had hands off. He knew, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just holding this for my brother. I'll run the coaching search. I'll run the GM search. But I don't really know what I'm doing. So I'm going to leave it alone. Not the case with Woody Johnson. He is meddling. He is going all in on Aaron Rodgers. And he is a big reason that Mike LaFleur lost his job. Now, Mike LaFleur probably happy to end up with Sean McVay and not have to worry about Zach Wilson versus whatever quarterback. But make no mistake, this team will not accept being middle of the pack. They won't. So what does this team need in order to get to the level that Woody Johnson clearly believes they must be at? We talk the same about Jimmy Haslam. This is a must-win team for the Cleveland Browns, must-win team for the New York Jets because of impatient owners. So the Jets offense, they need a quarterback. They might need a backup too, because Zach Wilson, if he's the backup, if he's QB2, are you comfortable with him entering the lineup in a pinch if there's an injury? Are you comfortable with him having to potentially start the rest of the season if anything were to happen to your starter? I don't know if the Jets are, so they might have to add a backup quarterback. They might have to re-sign Joe Flacco, bring back Chris Streveler. Sounds like Mike White is on his way to back up Matthew Stafford with the Los Angeles Rams, but he could be an option for backup. But they definitely need a starter. They need a replacement at wide receiver for Corey Davis. And on the offensive line, they need a center because Connor McGovern is a free agent and he is going to get paid. The top-ranked center in free agency right now, young still, entering his third contract, Connor McGovern, he is going to get paid. He is going to deserve it. And that will leave a big hole at center for the Jets. They also might need a right tackle. It's confusing because they have their right tackle, left tackle, George Fant. So George Fant starts the season at left tackle. And then Mekhi Becton goes down, and they sign Dwayne Brown, former Seahawks and Texans left tackle. And so they say, hey, look, we know, George, we're sorry. You were supposed to be our left tackle. We do believe in you, but look, we got to ask you to go back to the right side again. I'm sorry, but we need you to. So George Fant played at right tackle. Yeah, he missed some games with injury, but also they had Max Mitchell, rookie 4th-round pick that they drafted last year, and he played well in short stints. He ended up being injured twice. I think once he ended his season with mono. I can't remember exactly, but Max Mitchell could be the future at right tackle, but they should probably add some veteran depth behind him just in case. But I'm optimistic. It's just that center problem that they have. And let's look at it. Let's show you right now what we are looking at with this New York Jets offense. Right here, pulling it up. There we go. Thank you, StreamYard, for cooperating. And here we go. So no quarterback. We're set at running back. Breece Hall, he's coming off of the torn ACL. So they very well could keep Bam Knight as the starter, Michael Carter as the RB2, and James Robinson as the RB3, replacing Ty Johnson. Or they could re-sign Ty Johnson. I don't care either way. The important thing is Breece Hall. Breece Hall, when Breece Hall comes back, Breece Hall is going to be dominant. He is currently the RB2 in Dynasty, I believe, even with the ACL tear, because what he did was so spectacular. Kenneth Walker, only running back that ranks ahead of Breece Hall right now. And if it weren't for the ACL tear, there wouldn't be a conversation. Breece Hall would be the RB1 by far, and it wouldn't be close. Breece Hall, phenomenal talent. I am so excited for Breece Hall in 2022. People will rag on him, say, well, J.K. Dobbins was slow out the gate. Javonte Williams and Breece Hall, they're going to be slow out the gate. Yes, I recognize that. And so I hope that is baked into their price tag in terms of their ADP, but make no mistake, Breece Hall is a game-changing talent. I cannot wait to see what he does in 2022. Now back to the receivers and the offensive line. It's a little bit different. It is not fully ideal. Here, let's pull up a better view of this. There we go. Get it all on one page for you. Love when we do the show on air, the pre-production. So here, we've got this offensive line. George Fant, free agent. Mekhi Becton, injured. Max Mitchell, injured, but he might be that future right tackle. They'll be set at right guard with the return of Elijah Vera Tucker, assuming he comes back from his ACL okay. But Elijah Vera Tucker, AVT, he is a star on the rise. Went from left guard to right guard, played some right tackle, played some left tackle, did it all before ending his season. And then they've got Laken Tomlinson and Dwayne Brown, just veterans. Dwayne Brown, a little bit older of a veteran, but a veteran left side of the offensive line, protecting that new quarterback. And on the defense, we've talked about how Carl Lawson is expected to be cut, which would put Jermaine Johnson into that starting lineup. They still have John Franklin Myers, who didn't spend as much time on the interior this season, which was a surprise, but Quinnen Williams was so dominant that they didn't need him to. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more John Franklin Myers inside on passing downs at the very least, especially because they need help at defensive tackle. Sheldon Rankins, Nathan Shepard, Solomon Thomas, all free agents for the New York Jets. Only Quinnen Williams is back, and Quinnen Williams has already said he's not showing up without a contract. So the Jets need to pay Quinnen Williams, and then they need to sign some defensive tackles because they have none. They also have to figure out their linebacker position because Quincy Williams, Quinnen's brother, is a free agent, and Quan Alexander is also a free agent, the LB3. Linebacker number 3 doesn't play as much in today's NFL, but Quan Alexander still mixed in quite a bit for the Jets. They have options in-house in Jamian Sherwood and Hamza Nasir-Eldin, both former safeties, and practice squad former safety turned linebacker Marcel Harris, who came over to the Jets from the 49ers with Robert Saleh. So there's options in-house. I wouldn't feel super confident with any of them, but there's at least options that exist. And then the secondary. The secondary is still very strong for the New York Jets. LaMarcus Joyner is a free agent. That's something that they will have to address. But Sauce Gardner's back. DJ Reed, his running mate in the secondary, is back. It will be interesting to see if Sauce is shadowing more in year 2 or if they still continues to play sides. That was an interesting thing about the New York Jets is one guy's over here, one guy's over here, and you do not swap at all. There's one game where they swapped, didn't work out too well, and they went back to playing sides. And then they've got Michael Carter II in the slot, who might be the better Michael Carter for the Jets at this point. I don't know. Michael Carter disappointed me this year on offense. Michael Carter, the slot corner, played very well. So all things told, this New York Jets team, it's going to be very similar to last year. They're going to have some changes. We're going to have Jermaine Johnson in for Carl Lawson for sure. We'll have some new faces at linebacker, hopefully a new receiver, and maybe a new center if they don't re-sign Connor McGovern. But there will be a lot of continuity, both on offense and on defense. So if they can get a quarterback to this win now team, and this is something that Cody and I have highlighted, is a win now team a real thing? Because the Denver Broncos, they were a win now team with Russell Wilson, or before Russell Wilson, and then they lost more games with Russ at quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater. Could the New York Jets end up suffering a similar fate should they make a move for Aaron Rodgers? Or will they be able to land a middle-of-the-tier quarterback like Jimmy G or Derek Carr, build around them, and make the Super Bowl? It's unfortunate for the Jets because I love Robert Saleh as a head coach. I think he is great. Big fan of their general manager as well, but the New York Jets are on a ticking clock with an impatient owner. And I just hope the best for all of the staff and all of the players there, because one thing we know, an impatient owner, you are just one even mid-season away from cleaning house and starting over. And I very much hope that is not the case for the New York Jets.